Hello and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host Bryan. We're going to wrap up this week's theme of supergroups, checking out the group The Traveling Wilburys, which is made up of Bob Dylan, George Harrison of the Beatles, Jeff Lynne from Electric Light Orchestra, Rob Orbison, and Tom Petty. Those are massive names. Now, combined, their genres cover rock, pop, a little bit of country, and of course, Dylan brings some folk to the table. I don't know what to expect here. Looks like we do have an electric bass here in the thumbnail, and then of course we have some acoustic guitars, which is something I'd expect given the people associated with the project. Let's dive into this off of their debut album. This song is called End of the Line.
Well, it's all right, riding around in the breeze. Well, it's all right, if you live the life you please. Well, it's all right, doing the best you can. Well, it's all right, as long as you lend a hand. You can sit around and wait for the phone to ring, waiting for someone to tell you everything. Sit around and wonder what tomorrow will bring.
Yeah, I mean, it's just two chords, but they have so much ornamentation on them that it sounds like there's more movement to it than you would expect. Yeah, okay.
Maybe somewhere down the road away, you'll think of me and wonder where I am these days. Maybe somewhere down the road when somebody plays Purple Haze.
There is a harmonic twist at the end of the phrase. There's somebody over here on the left with a very heavy vibrato. You heard it?
Don't have to be ashamed of the car I drive. I'm just glad to be here, happy to feel that. And it don't matter if you're by my side, I'm satisfied. Well, it's all
Yeah, I mean, I guess technically we could call it a 3-chord idea rather than just 2 chords, but the 3rd chord only comes in at the end of the phrase to provide a little bit of a turn and some contrast against the 2 main chords. There's a higher pitched all right there that panned from the left to the right. And we bring in the intro. Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, this is what I would expect with these names here, especially with Dylan in the group. It makes sense for this to be a bit on the pop folk side of things. A little bit of that Americana vibe going on. We have an A and a B section. They are kind of simple from a compositional standpoint. But of course, the song is designed just to move between these two and for the music to create an atmosphere for the vocals to be delivered through, much like a lot of what Dylan has done in the past. And actually, one of the other people, I don't remember who it was, also had a singer-songwriter genre listed on them. So I mean, this also kind of fits that genre as well, using the music as a vehicle for the vocalist. But what's really cool is that despite this, on the surface, just being a pretty standard folk track, having a verse and a chorus, then just jumping back and forth between them with a little interlude that comes up between the chorus to the next verse, just to provide a little bit of contrast with no vocal work. There's actually a lot of cool things going on underneath that surface level read that showcases what I think is a little bit of each person's personality showing through in here. There is a very country thing, this sort of swung eighths idea on palm muted guitar notes, being based chordally, also with this sort of yeah, I mean, it's the swung eighths, but it sort of has this based on the sound of the instruments, the strings being used, how they're being played, the notes specifically bringing a bluesy element to it, which exists really only in this one instrument. We do get a little bit of that countryness, but it sits on the bottom of everything. You really have to look for it because the full-bodied guitar chords, the bass work, the vocals, all of that is more prominent in the mix than this. But this certainly has more of that country feel to it. And I'm talking about classic country too, not 90s country or the 2000s country rock and pop country we have now. I'm talking about old school 50s, 60s, 70s style country music. And it's very cool to hear that one element sitting underneath everything. We also have the drummer presenting something interesting in here. I was trying to figure out what was going on because I saw he had I didn't know what they were. I think they're just separated wood. Like steel brushes, but instead of steel, it's wood, and they're a bit thicker than the bristles on a steel brush should be. And I saw he had those, so there's a lighter attack right there. And he had a single drum that he was hitting. And I was like, okay, kind of a simple idea. And, consistently throughout the 3.5 minute song, the drum pattern doesn't change at all. We don't get any additions to it. There aren't more instruments that come into play, none of that. But I did notice like a cymbal-like sound. I couldn't quite place where it was coming from. I thought maybe, for a brief moment, that the simplified percussion he was playing on was strictly for the music video, and that when it was recorded, maybe he was using a kit. But no, it was a tambourine on top of a snare drum. Is that what that was? And that's kind of genius. It really is. It allows the accents to have a little bit of a cymbal-like jingle to them, while still primarily focusing on more of that hollow drumhead sound that he's getting from the snare, and even from the drumhead that looks like it's wrapped around the tambourine. So, yeah, very, very efficient, getting a lot of sounds and a lot of options in timbre out of basically just one instrument. But it's actually two instruments combined. Very clever, though. And I love the way that it fits into everything. It not only is an interesting idea in and of itself, but sonically it fits within the vibe of the other instruments, and just works at elevating the atmosphere that they're creating here. We do have a bit more of the folkier things that Dylan brings to the table with the intro and outro licks. Particularly the way that he climbs up to those higher notes while everybody else sits on the lower ones, and the rhythm that they go through and the harmonies that are created, all drive home a really strong folk element. Vocally, though, a lot of the pop and rock elements are coming out here. We can hear it in the vocal melodies in isolation. We can hear it in the harmonies, and we can even hear it's a little bit of a mix and mash of everything. It features a little bit of that folk Americana, and it does have a pop aesthetic to it. Um, is the call and response of the single vocalist followed by the group, bringing in that end of the line phrase over and over and over on this track. And I really like that. It works well for this. It allows all of the vocalists a chance to shine, which I thought was pretty cool too. There isn't just like one person who does vocals on this track. It's everybody takes turns being solo, and everybody joins in for the group. Although I don't remember the drummer doing vocals. Actually, now that I think of it, only 3 of the 5 did solo vocals. The drummer did do the group vocals though, but I only remember hearing 3 voices for the solo parts. Um, but yeah, just really great stuff. As far as allowing everyone to shine while also still working within this vibe. It really does feel like they are a bunch of traveling musicians. The music video was on a train, was it? I think so. Yeah, that would be my guess. Um, and they're all just sort of singing together, enjoying time with each other. This could very well be a music video, but it could also just be a jam session for them. It's really indistinguishable from that perspective, as long as they're um, in the character of the Traveling Wilburys. So I like that. They seem like they have really great chemistry. The music video has a lot of shots of them smiling at each other and just looking like they're enjoying themselves. The music is simple enough that it could probably go on forever if people just wanted to keep ad-libbing lyrics to it. And of course, after every sentence, everyone just comes in and says, "End of the line." So yeah, it's simple enough to be repeated infinitely with bits of improvisation to it, while still has a lot of density and characteristic to it that everybody gets to add to. It's a really great showcasing of this group of people and all of their styles, all of their tastes, without allowing any of them to outshine the other, which I think it's a difficult line to toe, isn't it? Being a super group means you have a bunch of people coming together, and sometimes you get cases with bands like Hell Yeah, a modern rock supergroup, has the vocalist from Mudvayne in it. At one point, had the vocalist of Godsmack playing guitar. Soli, I think is his name. He's not in it anymore. I think he was just there for the first album. I think the drummer and bassist were from Pantera or something like that. See, the thing is, though, is I don't know. I know the front man. I know that this was a side project of Mudvayne. The rest of the crew I'm kind of clueless about. So even though it is a super group, I still have a leader to that group, even though everybody in it is famous in their own right. That could easily have happened here, which would have been really strange, especially when you have a Beatle and Tom Petty and Bob Dylan. The other 2 names were new to me. Well, not because Jeff Lynne I knew from ELO because we checked a whole album out of that a few months ago. But other than that, I don't think I'd really heard that name prior to the channel. But the other members, I mean, even I had heard of them. And they're not music I normally listen to. They're just super big names. How do you balance that out? What happens if one of them ends up being the face of the band? How does everybody else feel about that? So I think this is just, it shows a really good, it's a really good showcase of bringing everybody's skills and personality to the table without letting anybody outshine the other, which I think is just really important for this. I don't know how humble any of these folks are. They're all larger than life in the realm of music. And I've never met them, so I don't know, personally how humble they are. But I mean, if any of them had taken the front man position of it, you have no idea how the others might, or even just one of the others might react. So, but yeah, it's a fine line to toe because if you could reach a point where the band just isn't anything because everybody is in the spotlight, and That's hard to do too. I don't know. I think it's magic that they did this and accomplished what I think they accomplished. I'm gonna hit some lyrics on this and we'll see what's going on there. All right. So first of all, in the Genius annotation, it mentioned that all of the Wilburys provide vocals, and I was like, all of the Wilburys. I had to go look this up. They all took stage names with Wilbury as a last name, which is why they're the Traveling Wilburys. We have Nelson Wilbury, Otis Wilbury, Charlie T. Wilbury Jr., Lefty Wilbury, and Lucky Wilbury. And I think that's kind of funny, not just because of the whole idea of taking on stage names to fit this character, this group, but also because I talked about in the music video, or in the reaction, about how the music video kind of makes it feel like it could be them as the Wilburys, uh, rehearsing or practicing or just jamming along, more so than it being, a real music video. It feels like it could be a bit more candid. So I do think it's interesting that not only did I have that idea, but it's actually what they were aiming for, which I think just speaks volumes to the music video itself and what it was portraying. They did a great job personifying this entire concept, not personifying, solidifying this concept. Now the song, to me, simply seems to just be about being fine with the way things are, general acceptance. One thing I do find interesting is that the chorus and the verse, the call and response is inverted. On the choruses, the group vocal is the call. The chorus starts, well, it's all right. Then we have the single vocalist, riding around in the breeze. Well, it's all right if you live the life you please. However, the verses have the group vocal, which is the end of the line, as the response. I think that's really interesting. Because usually your group vocal will always be the response to the solo vocalist. And they don't do that. In fact, they inverted every section. But as I stated, the chorus is, the first chorus, because all the choruses are different, interestingly. It says, riding around in the breeze, if you live the life you please, doing the best you can as long as you lend a hand. So as long as you're not out just for yourself, as long as you help out people where they need it, and you're living your life, and you're happy about it, well, that's all right, man. That's all you can ask for in life. To be happy and to share that happiness. The next chorus says, even if they say you're wrong, sometimes you gotta be strong. As long as you got somewhere to lay, every day is judgment day. I think this sort of speaks about how time is not finite and anybody's time could be right around the corner. You don't know, which is why you have to live your life as best you can. And sometimes you're going to be the black sheep. You're going to be the odd man out. But you got to have that conviction if you think you're right. It says sometimes you got to be strong. Further down, we have ideas. It says, even when push comes to shove, if you got someone to love, everything works out fine. Basically, there's just a lot of imparting of wisdom of living a simple, happy life and being okay with that. One part, it's the third verse. Tom Petty jumps in. He says, I don't have to be ashamed of the car I drive. I'm just happy to be here. I'm glad to be alive. Doesn't matter even if you're by my side because I'm satisfied. I'm happy with the way my life turned out. I don't have to prove myself to anybody. It's all about this simple happiness. Almost every single line in here is about a simple happiness. And then we finish it off with our final chorus. Even if you're old and gray, you still got something to say. Remember to live and let live. The best you can do is forgive. We have a bit of a repeat at the beginning. Riding around in the breeze, if you live the life you please. Even if the sun don't shine, we're going to the end of the line. Always going to the end. Which this song, I believe the idea of going to the end of the line is about touring, as they are the Traveling Wilburys. That they will continue to the last show that they have, reaching the end of their tour. I don't think it's so much about the end of life as a line, the end of the line for your life. I think it's more of just about, seeing a project through. and always having that positive commitment to it, which I think works well. There is certainly a folky traveling band of merry men vibe to the Americana element in the track. And again, the music video, especially being shot on a train, feels like something just hanging out with a group of cool guys, jamming along while they're traveling to their next destination. So, yeah, everything's really cohesive in here. The collection of sounds, the theming of the music and the lyrics, even the theming of the music video in combination with the lyrics, everything just works in a way that's I find is very cool. Just because I like it when stuff gels together like that. My only criticism would be the repetition of it. That's just what folk is. I don't think that's a fair criticism, but I do know that I could not listen to a whole album of this. As with a lot of folk music, I need a little bit more contrast to it. However, they do some cool things on this and try to keep it fresh from section to section, constantly adding new ideas. I don't think I brought this up, but even having the additional um, third part vocals underneath and around. Like I said, we had that one that panned from left to right. It's a bit higher pitched. I think he said end of the line. It was towards the end of the track. Um, and just having little things like that, little guitar licks that pop up once and never again, just to help differentiate some stuff. I'm glad that that was in there. It wasn't quite enough for me to want to listen to it again, but it was better than nothing if they had just played the same sections over and over and over. But again, I don't really feel like that's a fair criticism, but it is my opinion on it. Those are my thoughts. Traveling Wilburys, End of the Line. What did you think of this song? Is there anything that stood out to you? Anything you'd like to add on to what I said or correct me on? Maybe you just want to give your own thoughts, opinions, and perspective about it. Toss all those ideas down in the comment section. Above that, in the description box, you'll find a link to Linktree. Takes you here. You can find links to my music, ways to support the channel, a link to the Discord server, and so much more. Above that, if you could, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. I greatly appreciate all three of those. That wraps it up for this one. We do have a special selection coming up next. Otherwise, I'll be back tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 p.m. UTC with this week's album. I think we're looking at some prog rock. The band's called Vulcan. Mask of Air? Is that what the album's called? I don't remember off the top of my head. But I'm pretty sure that's some classic style prog rock that we're going to get into. I don't know. I think we've done the band once on the channel, and honestly, I can't remember exactly what it was. Anyways, that's something to look forward to. We also have the live stream on Sunday morning, 11 a.m. EST, 3 p.m. UTC. That goes for 2 hours. We're going to be listening to some music, just chit-chatting, hanging out. Drop by if that sounds fun. And of course, I'll be back Monday with the traditional reactions at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That wraps it up. Remember to be critical, not cynical, of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening whenever you choose to watch my videos.